Welcome back to another Emma Tries video, and I am back doing these after a quick hiatus because of the school holidays. And before I went away, I put a LinkedIn post up and asked if any of you had any suggestions of authoring tools. So now I have a nice list of ones that I can try and review over the next few months. So thank you very much for everybody that commented with suggestions. I'm really excited to kind of try all of these other platforms as well. But we're kicking off today in this kind of new instalment of Emma Tries with 7taps. And 7taps is a microlearning platform. And they have some pretty bold claims. I've been going down their website and they've been talking about kind of like higher knowledge retention through microlearning, that 81% of their customers saw improved team performance. They throw a lot of stats out there. So I'm really intrigued to see if I kind of agree and think that it is, a fantastic tool, or whether it's a bit gimmicky. I say that because I immediately was drawn to this of turning your content into high impact learning by essentially dumping your PowerPoint and then it takes it out into kind of creates a course from it, because these always make me nervous that it's a sort of a platform that is a little bit of a content dump, and it's encouraging that mindset of, well, anybody can just put anything into an authoring tool and call themselves an e-learning developer. So we will see though. I am going in this with a positive mindset, and I love microlearning. I think it's fantastic. So I am excited to try a platform that is purely focused on microlearning. So let's jump in to the actual kind of editor space and see what we are working with. So here is your dashboard, I suppose you could call it. And we've got a really nice, clean, simple interface. And if you've seen any of my other Emma Tries videos, you'll know I'm a big fan of an uncluttered black and white interface. It's really easy to see what you're working on. This is an example course they've given me, so you can kind of get a feel for what 7taps is and kind of the courses that you can create. I haven't explored the learning paths or any of this functionality up here yet, but we will get to that. And you can see that you can change your plan. Now, they do actually offer a free plan. Obviously, you get limited functionality with this, and then they have a starter plan as well, which you get slightly more, mainly around that kind of analytics side and everything. So yeah, that's not a bad price point, but obviously I haven't really looked into the editor or the actual creator itself yet, so I might take that back. But on a whole, that's not too bad for an authoring tool, especially when you compare it to something like Articulate Suite, which is around $1,500 a year or something like that. So we will see. I might eat my words on that and say, actually, for what it is, it's really expensive. But yeah, so you can actually use the authoring tool for free, which is what I like, because I tend to like to have a play before committing to anything like this. So let's jump into the kind of course creator and see what we're working with. So if I click create, you can see that you are given a few options. So you can use their kind of AI functionality to create courses, essentially. You can transform existing PowerPoints and PDFs, and you can create your microlearning from the ground up. Now, I will try this one as well to see how well it works, I suppose. But we'll come back to that towards the end. Let's start by building a course from the ground up. So here we are in my Discovering Menorca course, and I've just pulled the content over from the Rise build I did, just so I could play around with the functionality in 7taps. And what really threw me actually was when I first opened this, it had my logo up here, and it pulled that through from just knowing my company name. Because when I signed up, I put my name in, my company name, and my email. And when I opened this, it already populated my logo there, which was a bit creepy, but nice touch. So you can see that the way you build this, your courses, is in this cards format. So they call these individual kind of sections here cards. And essentially, you just add cards and you move along them in like this kind of carousel format. So as you add an extra card, you add an extra number, and you just move along like that. And you can move your cards, so reposition them or reorder them, sorry, using these two buttons here. So move left and move right. Now, on first impressions, when I first got into this, I really like it. It has got to be one of the simplest authoring tools that I have ever used. Like, it was so, so simple. I did at first not realize that these were called cards. And so I didn't quite grasp the fact that I could just click this button here and it would create me another one of these. But that is probably my fault because I am terrible at following tutorials and reading instructions. I just like to play with things. So yeah, just a heads up, if you do use this authoring tool, then when they refer to card, it means like a page. Another thing to note is that here is our interactivity on the right hand side. So you can see we've got quiz, video, submit, all of those kind of things. They create a new card for each of these interactions. So whereas on some authoring tools you would have you could be able to put, for example, audio and a form on the same card or on the same page. With this, each interaction is a separate card in itself. Now, I'm assuming that they've done it this way because this authoring tool is purely mobile focused. You wouldn't complete this on a desktop, really. This has been built for mobile devices. And what I like about this is that you know it's going to look good on mobile as you're building. So there's none of the pressure of, oh, is this going to be a bit cramped? Or is this not going to scale very nicely? You just know it's going to scale nicely because as it's appearing on here, it's pretty much as it appears on mobile. And I have tested it on mobile and it does look really nice. So there's been a lot of thought, I think, into the sizing of this, the way the blocks look and all of that kind of stuff, or cards look, should I say. So yeah, I like that. I like that that worry is gone because even with things like Genially, whilst it had that mobile sizing, I did still find that you had to do a lot of the guesswork in terms of how big your font should be and where you should position things in order to make it look good on mobile. Whereas they've done that for you on this. You don't have that option. It's already sized everything to be applicable and suitable for a mobile device. So as you can see, I have added a few cards in with the different interactions on them. But before we jump into the interactivity, let's have a look at the theming settings. So you get a really good range of theming settings. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like you can't customize everything, but you get a good starting point. So you can see here, they give you a really nice catalogue of pre-done sort of theme designs essentially, and they're very abstract, which is great because it means you can apply them to a range of different subject matters, and a lot of them are incredibly simple. So if you look at this one, you do get given a couple of different colorways as well, which is nice. I love this one with the bright colors. And yeah, so this is a fantastic starting point, especially if you're not somebody that is visual design inclined or you find that area quite tricky. This allows you to choose something that you know is going to look good and it's going to be responsive and scale down to mobile devices nicely. And that's the key thing with this, is that these designs have been made for mobile. So you know they're going to look good on mobile. And there's none of that kind of trial and error with imagery, which you get, for example, with Rise, where you have to keep testing it across devices to make sure it scales nicely, and that can be quite time consuming. Whereas with this, you know that these themes have been designed to perform well on mobile. There's also the option of, if I scroll up, you've got these really basic ones here, which are just simple patterns. And I love these. I don't know if you can change the color. I have had a look and I can't see a function that allows you to change the color of this, but I feel like there should be one. So if anybody from 7taps or anybody has used 7taps and knows that there is an option to change the color of these kind of basic ones, then do let me know, because I feel like you should be able to, but I just can't find the button. But anyway, so yeah, you can see you get a great starting point, really quick to set up, and you can choose from a couple of different colorways. So it's not super customizable in that sense. Like you can't customize everything down to the the color of this background and the color of those dots. But you get enough customization that you know your course will look nice, it will look good. Let's keep this lovely pink one on then. So if I just jump back into theming a second, you can also change fonts. So I've set it to Poppins, but you get a good amount of different fonts there. And you can change and add your own theme. And again, this is a fairly simple function. So you can change like the cover pages. So that's essentially your first page. You can also change the color of your pages here, and you can change the buttons as well. At the moment, I don't think there's an option to upload your own imagery. So if I wanted to create like a pattern to go on my cover page, I don't think there's the option to upload that yet for your own theme. But you can play around with color if you wanted something very simple or something that was just in your brand colors. And then you just click Save Theme. So not masses of customization. It's on par with other sort of authoring tools. It's very, very limited. But I understand the method behind this customization. And I think the fact that they give you so many presets to start with means that you kind of have got something to go with. So yeah, I would love to see potentially, like I've just said, the option to be able to upload your own kind of pattern, and maybe even the option of them giving you a template so that you could ensure the sizing was correct potentially, and then you could maybe create your own like designs or patterns. But yeah, that would be kind of my wish list, I suppose, with this. So you can also upload other branding elements. So if I click on the three lines here and you click branding, you can see you can add in your company logo, which it did for me. And you can obviously have it to do this whenever you create a new course. You can have custom course URLs, custom emails, and custom fonts. So if you've got a specific font, you can fill in that form, and I think they might add it for you. I don't think you've got the option to do it yourself yet. So again, quite simple on the customization, but I think you customize with method. I think is probably the best way to put it. There's method behind the restrictiveness and the restrictive nature of this. So let's have a look at the different interactivity options here and how they perform. So as you can see, I've started populating these cards, just trialing out some of the different interactivity that you get. And again, as with the customization, you don't get tons, so it is quite limited. And I'll reiterate again that I think a lot of this comes from the fact that this is made for mobile, or that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from it and from their website, that this is a mobile first platform. So I'm assuming that they've sort of selected these interactivity options based on what performs best on a mobile and what is easiest to use. I mean, you can see here that these buttons have automatically sized to be very large, because thinking about it on a mobile device, you don't want things that are too small because you can't click them. So whenever you add a new card as well, it adds the so one interaction per card essentially. So whilst on some authoring tools, for example Genially, you would be able to add in like a quiz, and then you could add an audio in, or you could add an icon or whatever. With this, you have one interaction per card. So you select quiz and it gives you a card with a quiz. If you select poll, it'll give you a card with a poll. So it's quite basic in that sense, that it's almost, a page per thing that you want your learner to do. So here we have the kind of basic card function, which is where you can have essentially text and image. They come off blank first of all, and then if you click your buttons down here, you can actually add an image in. So if I just click change, you can see you can search via a stock library, or you can add on your own images as well. And then when it applies it, you have the option to resize the image depending on kind of like your text to image ratio that you want. And you can scale the image up and down as well. So if you wanted it to appear like that, or to be super large. And what I like about using this authoring tool is that, kind of like I said with the theming options, you know that what you're doing here is going to appear almost exactly as is on mobile. Because this is sized for mobile, obviously you've got discrepancies in terms of the size of the mobile device that your learner is using. But you know that if it looks okay here, it's going to look very, very similar to this on the mobile device as well. So you can kind of have that comfort or reassurance that you won't have to go back and do kind of multiple edits because this image at this scale, for example, looks really weird on a mobile device and suddenly fills the page or something. You know it's going to most likely look like that on the mobile as well. So other cards we've got here. So this is a button, or I think on here, yep, it's called a button card. And I've used this as a kind of makeshift navigation menu. So they could select here and they could jump to section 1 and then section 2. Now, because this is a microlearning platform, these courses aren't made to be super long. So the fact that this doesn't have a navigation feature or a menu button, I'm not too fussed about. I think in the kind of context of this authoring tool and how it's positioned, it is positioned as a microlearning authoring tool. Microlearnings don't tend to have menus or branches or anything like that. So I've used it like this, but to be honest, you probably wouldn't use a navigation menu within a microlearning anyway. So to reorder your cards is really easy. You can just move them left or right with these buttons here. So you can see it switches them over. This could become a little bit of a pain if you are creating a microlearning with maybe like 20 cards. If you had one over here that you suddenly needed like at the beginning, having to move it across that many, like press that arrow that many times could be a bit annoying, because I don't believe there's the option to kind of like click and drag, or is there? No, so you can't like click and drag them. So kind of having to click that to move it across could be a bit of a pain. But again, in theory, these wouldn't be large courses because you are creating a micro-learning, not a full-blown 20-minute e-learning. Now, this card here is the one that intrigued me the most. So this is their role play card. And this is where you start to see that AI functionality get pulled through. And if I click edit, actually, let's go for preview. You'll be able to see how this functions. So let's just jump ahead. So I've got this to be a card about who would be best going to Sweetadea. And if you click individual people,
Hi, I'm Tom. I want a relaxing beach holiday. I love swimming in the sea and enjoy boat trips.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a huge history fan. I want to visit museums, learn about the country's culture, and explore historic towns.
so a little bit uncanny valley vibes. It's a bit weird. The voices and the faces are a bit disjointed, but I love the potential that this has. That is such a nice activity. And then obviously it comes up with the question of who would be best suited. And obviously in this instance it would be Ella. And then it gives you feedback. And the learner can replay if they need to kind of listen to what the people were saying. And the potential that this has for things like customer service training is fantastic. I love this feature. I think it's probably my kind of favorite interaction from all of the ones that are provided. Obviously, I think the AI needs a little bit of work. It's like still giving a bit, the faces and the voices don't match. But um, it's a really nice way to add a little bit of kind of engagement away from just click, click, click. Because as we kind of know, when you've got limited functionality, it can become a little bit repetitive quite quickly. And in this instance, I think this um, is a fantastic kind of addition to just elevating the interactivity in a way that is mobile friendly. Because even if somebody hasn't got headphones, we can see the closed captions appear on here, so they can still read what the individual people are saying. So yeah, really like that. And you could even have, this is where you could use your button card. You could have the learner choose from 3 scenarios, for example, that depending on what they need to learn or what role they're in. So it could be, for example, if you're a customer service agent, select this scenario. If you're a manager, select this scenario, whatever. And then you could have multiple cards here that they could then jump to. So yeah, really like that one. That is a great function. The other kind of like cards or pages or whatever you want to call them are fairly simple. So we've got a rating function. If I just select that one, you could ask them to, rate the training or whatever that you wanted to know. We've got forms. So again, they can kind of type in their answer to the question. So if you wanted feedback on something, you could use this like a reflective box, and then they could revisit this at a one-to-one with the manager. So obviously you can see that the admin of the course would be able to review and see all the responses. These are grayed out, by the way, because if you don't actually input anything into them, then they don't become visible for the learner. So at the moment they're grayed out because I've not put anything in there. We've got submit, which asks the learners to upload their own audio or image files. So this is quite interesting. It's particularly around the audio, because if you wanted them to potentially provide their answer to a question or even their thoughts about something, you could ask them to record themselves talking. Or you might say they're in a store and they need to take a picture of their shelves because it's a good example of facing up or something like that. You could ask a manager to go and do that. So, or fire safety, go and take a picture of where your nearest fire exit is or your fire extinguisher. So that's a really cool function that I've not seen in any other authoring tool, actually. I'd love to see that in practice and about how that's going to work. So here you can see I've chosen image, so we could put in here, go and find your nearest fire extinguisher and take a picture of it. And there we go. They can submit their picture. And again, the person that has admin rights to the course could see what they've taken. And yeah, that's awesome. I really, really like that feature as well. And that's very mobile friendly. Again, thinking about the fact that this is a mobile based authoring tool, that's a very mobile friendly interaction that actually feels really valuable. And for me, pushes across that perception that e-learning doesn't have to be tied to a desk. This kind of functionality would be perfect for people that actually are working in offices or in supermarkets or, in hospitality, that would be on the shop floor or within their work environment, and they can really kind of write this to be super immersive and super engaging. And then after that, we've got video, audio, kind of are what they are, aren't they? Checklist is quite nice. So you might have seen at the beginning of this, I put an are you ready to learn? And then they check all of those and it comes up with a comment. So, something like, I have headphones, I'm in a quiet space, I feel calm and relaxed. So this is quite a good way to introduce a course, actually. And again, talking about that kind of learning on the job, that immersive kind of role play learning, I suppose. You could add a checklist here that says, right, now say you work in a bar, and you need to check a barrel's in date or something like that. You could say, go down to the cellar and find your nearest barrel. Is it in date? Is XYZ on there? Blah, 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 blah. And tell them, if it doesn't, this is what you need to do. So again, I feel like this is very much set up for learning actively, I suppose, learning in your place of work as opposed to being sat behind a desk or whatever. So I really like the potential that comes with this. And I think that's pretty much it. So copy in essentially is you can copy slides from other courses. So if you had a fire safety for managers and a fire safety for normal colleagues and you wanted to copy over the introductory slides, you could do that as well. So now let's have a quick look at the PDF to course functionality, because I kind of want to try that and see how that sort of translates content. Overall thinking from this is that I'm really, really impressed. It's very basic on some areas, but as I've kind of said, I think that basic functionality is intentional to enable it to perform well on a mobile device. And as an ID, you have to be very kind of intentional, I suppose, as well in the interactions that you create and the instructional design that you do. And for some reason, it's not, the preview's going a bit funny, but usually it previews really nicely as well. And you kind of click through these as cards, but it's having a bit of a funny 5 minutes at the moment. So I'll try it again in a second. So let's jump out of this view and then just have a look at that AI functionality of uploading a document or uploading a PowerPoint and see how it translates that course. So I uploaded a snippet of my storyboard from a coaching e-learning I did to just try out the AI functionality and see how it translates this across into a microlearning. And I will say I wasn't hugely impressed. It's taken pretty much all the text and just added a load of these kind of text-based cards here. And then we've got one question and then more text and then another question. So I wouldn't say it's revolutionary. This could be a good starting point, so I could then, go in and edit and change and move things as I want. But to be honest, if you wanted to use AI, it would probably be easier to just take your existing storyboard or text, put it into ChatGPT and ask it to essentially condense it or make it suitable for a microlearning, and then use the blank course functionality in 7 Taps to build out your course that way. Maybe if you were more specific in terms of the, like on the storyboard, then it might respond to that. So for example, if I put I don't know, empowering individuals and put in brackets multiple choice question or something, it may respond to that. But that would also require you then going through like your storyboard and making those changes, which again, I kind of argue it would be easier to just start with a blank course. So yeah, not hugely impressed with this. I probably personally wouldn't use it. I wouldn't say it's taken my little storyboard snippet and created something amazing really quickly. And this just shows, that whilst AI can be a great time saver in some aspects, it still needs that human touch. Like I would never just sort of then send this out. It's not a microlearning, it's just a glorified PDF. It's a PDF in a nicer format. So yeah, one to just be aware of, that you can't really just upload something and then expect it to be this finished, polished thing. And I did try this with multiple documents as well to get a kind of balanced picture, and I had very similar results with all of it. So yeah, I don't know if this is kind of like up and coming technology or functionality, so it may get more accurate or better with time. And if they do end up adding more of these cards or these interactions, you might get a bit more variation. But it's not a feature that I would pay extra for at the moment or jump to use. So before we end this video and I rate 7 Taps along the 4 categories, I am just going to quickly talk through the sharing options. So you can see up here we've got a purple button that says share, and it's green for me at the moment because I've already shared this. And you've got quite a few options actually, to be honest. You can share by just a link, by MS Teams, WhatsApp, email, Slack, all of those kind of things, which is great because if you, for example, are working on Teams or Slack, you could easily share this course with kind of multiple employees at once without having to email. You can also sort of turn on and off if it's password protected, and obviously if you're going to allow Slack or MS Teams sharing, and you can also add a preview image as well. So yeah, good amount of sharing options. I tried it on my phone as well using just the link function, and I will add in a couple of screenshots to this video which shows you what it looks like on the phone and how it scales. And if I click export as well, you can see you can export it for SCORM and API. So if you wanted to add this to an LMS, then you can essentially do that. It does say that they don't recommend it because it might lead to slower access because they'd have to log into their LMS, but I don't really see that. I mean, that's quite common for people. I don't think that's a issue. I think it's mainly because they want people to come via 7 Taps. You can also get the iframe codes if you wanted to embed this in a website, and PDF for review systems. So essentially it would just PDF your whole course, and if you wanted people to leave feedback or comments or whatever, you could do it like that, I suppose. So yeah, I think that's the main things that I needed to cover with this. obviously at the moment I'm on like a trial, and I don't know what features would be limited if I then switch over to the free plan. You can see here that this is what you get access to if you've got their enterprise or their kind of full plan. But when this runs out, I would imagine that some of this would be quite restricted if you were stuck or sticking to, sorry, the free plan. And yeah, you can change your subscription, add learners, add your team, all of that kind of stuff as well. So I know I said I was going to go into the ratings, but I've actually spotted something else that I wanted to talk about. And that was this learning paths. And essentially, this is where you can create a few mini courses, add them to a learning path, and then you can schedule their delivery based on when you want people to access them. So you could use this, like they've just said here, for like onboarding or leadership training or refresher training or something like that. So that's a really cool feature. And if I click schedule here, you can see that you can choose whether it's sent via email, SMS, like the reminder essentially. And obviously if you've enabled Slack and Teams, you could do that as well. So I clicked email. You can deliver courses by schedule or by the completion of the previous. So that's a really nice feature too. So they can do it one at a time and one's released as they complete the other one. So that could be great for onboarding particularly. And you can send it only on weekdays, which again, that's a nice feature because it means people aren't being bombarded on the weekday if they potentially have a work phone or something. So if I clicked on, let's just go for schedule and just see what options it gives us. So you can add your courses here. And then, so let's just add both of these for now, and then click, what have we got here? So you can change the message, and then you can choose essentially how long after they've accessed this one will they be then able to sort of do this one as well. Okay, now let's actually get into the ratings. So we always kick off with ease of use. And I'm going to have to rate this like a 5. I think it's going to be the first one I'm going to rate a 5. It was the easiest authoring tool I've ever used. It's really clear, really, really easy to add things, really easy to change a theme, to change a font, to publish. The interface is very clear. It's like obvious where things sit. So, you don't have to move stuff around. It sort of automatically jumps it to where it needs to be. I honestly can't fault it. I mean, anybody could pick this authoring tool up and use it and get on with it. Like, it is the easiest thing I've ever used. So definitely a 5 on that front. So functionality, when rating this, I'm going to keep in mind the fact that it is a platform that is made for microlearning and microlearning only, and also that it's mobile first. And on that basis, I think I'm going to give it a 3. In terms of the level of functionality you don't get loads. And there is areas where I think it might be quite nice to have more. For example, maybe a flip card option, or a few more text layouts, or a couple of more text and image layouts, or something like that. Just that little bit more variation, because when you are working with very limited functionality, it can be quite easy to fall into courses feeling very, very repetitive. But I will say in their defense that I think the interactivity that they've chosen, or the functionality that they've chosen, is very intentional, and it is sort of chosen to be very mobile friendly. And that means that it performs well and it feels not so it feels, but you don't have that worry that it's going to be too small on mobile or the buttons are going to be too small. So I think whilst I would like more functionality, I am pleased with the functionality that they give you. I really like that role play feature with the videos of the two people. I think that has great scope, and I love the learner input one as well, where they can take a picture or record audio. I think with a talented instructional designer behind that functionality, you could create some really engaging and really interactive courses and activities and things as well. So yes, I'd like more functionality. I know I've seen authoring tools with plenty more functionality, but I think it's quality functionality, and I think it's chosen with intention, which I like. Customization. And again, I'm thinking of this through the lens of this being a mobile first authoring tool, but I'd have to put it at probably a 2.5, maybe even a 2. I think that might be a little bit harsh. We'll go for a 2.5. It's obviously you get all those presets, which is fantastic, and I do like those. And again, you can very much see this theme of creating things quickly and easily. And as I've sort of pointed out, the ease of use is very user friendly. But it would be nice to have maybe the option to, with those presets, to change the text color, or have the option to upload your own theme and choose a background image for your cover pages. So upload your own pattern or something like that. Just that little extra bit of customization, because at the moment you are very limited in what you can do. Now, in other authoring tools, I've kind of been annoyed by the fact that you can't drag stuff around the page. But in this instance, actually, I think it works. And as I've said, I can see why they have it that you sort of create that card and it centers it or anchors that interactivity to a certain spot. Because again, it means that when it's scaling down, it scales nicely and performs good. So in this instance, I'm not mad about that, because actually it saves a lot of time in that going back and forth and refining and checking things if they don't sort of perform well on a mobile or scale very well. But I would like the option to just maybe edit those themes a little bit more, or a bit more freedom in creating your own theme as well. I like that you can add your logo to it and you can sort of begin to incorporate those branding elements. But I think at the moment, it would be hard to make it feel fully branded to your organization unless you went for a very, very plain theme like I showed, where you could just change the colors. So definitely, I'd actually probably take more customization options over functionality. I think that would improve it more than increasing the amount of functionality. So finally, we have skill level, and this is definitely sitting in the beginner pile, and not in a negative way at all. I think this is a fantastic starting point for people that want to create mobile learning, or if you are an organization that is going for a mobile first approach for your e-learning. I think this is a fantastic starting point. It's a really great tool. It's really well priced. I had great fun playing with it. It's so easy to use. I think you would just need to make sure you've got a very strong instructional designer behind you, which obviously is the case for every e-learning, but that is able to take that limited functionality and really see it and see the vision and see how they can use that to create some really kind of engaging and hands-on e-learning with not a lot of variation, essentially. But yeah, overall, really positive. I really recommend just having a go. And it is one that I think I may potentially add to my sort of catalogue of authoring tools, I suppose, if they sort of increase the customization options. I could definitely see myself using this 100%. So if you do try it, do let me know what you think or what you create, how you find it, and I will see you in the next one.